breathing is basically the verb. So B-R-E-A-T-H-E, which is basically to breathe, and the breath is basically B-R-E-A-T-H, which is basically the noun. But to breathe is basically the English word or verb that describes the fact that yes, I'm now inhaling oxygen, and I'm now going to exhale carbon dioxide. That's the word. But in a medical circle, this process is called the respiratory process, but the respiratory process, when you look at this word respiration, which comes from the Latin word respiratio, or more specifically the verb respirare, you're gonna come to see that something's really deep is happening when we say I'm breathing, because respiration, which comes from the verb respirare. Respirare simply means in Latin something completely deep. Let me just tell you why. Because respirare is basically a prefix, which is simply re. In this context, it simply means over and over and over again. So it speaks to a cycle. So re speaks to a cycle. And then the root of the word, which is basically SPI. So SPI is basically the same root now as another word in Latin, which simply means spiritus. And spiritus, which simply means spirit. So basically, you are saying, when you say I'm respirare or respiraro, I'm simply putting spirit in me over and over. So I am basically in the process of receiving and exhaling spirit in and out of me. So a few days ago, I was talking to you about the ancient brain, which is basically the amygdala, and how the amygdala is supposed to be regulating this key thing, which is basically fight or flight. And this was actually embedded in us for only one key reason, because we had to learn how to navigate this world. So without that, our ancestors would not been able to actually decipher or to tell whether a lion was a friend or enemy. They had to actually have this built-in black box or GPS in the brain to let them know, my goodness, see, now you have to sense danger and run away. Now you have to sense that you're fun and simply stay. Or now you have to sense danger and simply fight. Because this is basically something you have to teach yourself how to assert yourself when it comes to taking over this piece of the land. That's built in. But I also went to great length to explain to her in 1968, this crazy man, again with respect, I love him very much, Dr. Arthur King went on to conduct an experiment with monkeys to see what was going to happen to us if we weren't able to remove the amygdala. Was he going to give birth to a generation of people that's going to be simply fearless, or simply is fear an important factor as far as who we are is concerned? And after his experiment in Puerto Rico, in Santiago, and in Zambia, it came to the conclusion that yes, without fear, basically we're going to be simply walking around with that GPS. We're simply going to be thinking that yes, I don't need to be scared of anything, and doing crazy things that will lead to our demise. So therefore, the GPS that's called amygdala is very important. And I also went to great length to explain to you that in 1999, if I'm not mistaken, in Australia, two gentlemen, one by the name of Orbax again, and the other one by the name of a wheat, which is simply came to discover something really unique, a disease that simply led to the mutation of the cells within the body, and eventually it will simply go to the brain. And as it goes to the brain, it was affecting this piece of the brain known as amygdala. And so those suffering from this syndrome, named after these two gentlemen, Orbach-Witt syndrome, simply were naturally fearless, quote and unquote. But this fearlessness was also put to the test. And when it was put to the test, by a doctor by the name of Justin Feinstein, when it was put to the test, Dr. Justin Feinstein was able to demonstrate that. So with that, yes, you can say that you are fearless. You can say that basically we can see you are fearless. But once we're going to put you to the process, actually getting you to inhale carbon dioxide, there's something going to be simply revived in your brain. Simply say, yes, the amygdala may be gone, but this is now speaking to basically the essence of who I am. You are now challenging my ability to breathe, which is basically my ability to, as I would say in Latin, respirare, my ability to simply go over the cycle of receiving spirit in me over and over. So therefore, the person will simply go like this, I can't breathe, I'm dying, so please remove this mask for me. To simply illustrate the fact that no matter how much fearlessness you think you may have reached, there's always going to be a switch in your brain to tell that yes, to breathe is actually it's essential, because if you don't breathe, you're dying. And if you don't inhale spirit in you, if you don't have the cycle of receiving spirit in you over and over, you're simply about to be deleted. The number one habit that you cannot overlook, which is simply your ability to speak. You have to learn to speak over yourself. You have to learn to speak over your circumstances. You have to learn to speak over the people around you. You have to learn to open your mouth. Because if you're not opening your mouth to speak over the situation, what is happening is you are simply saying that I'm okay with that. But that's not how life is supposed to be lived. Life is supposed to be lived with you actually asserting yourself. With you actually not just breathing, basically passively receiving oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. No. Life is also waiting for a direction. And I gave you the example a few days ago of this gentleman traveling by boat from one end of the city to the next. And as they're traveling, something crazy started happening. There is a storm, and the people basically that were called disciples, they realized that we're about to die. But one of them simply said, but we're about to die, but where is first that we call him our master? Our master is sleeping. So someone goes and elbows the master. He says, Master, please wake up. Please get up. What's going on? He said, what's going on? He said, but can't you see we're about to be deleted? So how come you're sleeping and you don't even pay attention to what is happening? And they were so agitated. And he says, but why are you worried? He said, but because we're about to die. And he said, it's okay. But I said, okay, this guy's losing his mind. You don't even know what you're talking about anymore. And he said, and his response to them is simply saying that, my goodness, you have to understand life from a scientific perspective. You have to understand how the brain wave works. You have to understand that yes, your gamma wave, the gamma brain wave that in which you are completely so far from the theta wave where I was. Some of you are between gamma and beta, and that's very dangerous, because from these two waves you can't do anything. If you want to do anything worthwhile, you have to go either to the alpha or the theta waves. And this is basically I was in between these two waves, and as I was sleeping I was just meditating on greater things. So because let me just tell you why. Because when you're in a gamma wave, you are basically agitating, and agitation only brings agitation around you. As within, so without. Because you are agitated deep within you, the nature around you is also going to be agitated in response. But when you learn to simply how to calm yourself down through meditation, so simply breathing exercise, you're going to come to a place where the kingdom within will be regulating. And as you are regulated within, the outside will also be able to be regulated. The reason why you're reaping all this nonsense around you, all this turmoil, is because your spirit is not regulated. You are breathing, you are speaking, but you are not regulated. You are breathing, but from a shallow breath. So basically, you are using your lungs, you are using your heart to do all the work. Your diaphragm is not properly dilating. It's not opening up and closing the way it's supposed to. I was telling you, the diaphragm is supposed to be going like this. To open when you inhale, and when you exhale, it's supposed to go like this. It's supposed to be doing that properly, because you know what? This controls about 80% of your breathing, but your heart and the lungs only control 20%. But when you rely on shallow breathing, because you are so overworked, and as you're overworked, your brain simply actually goes on to talk to the amygdala, and the amygdala now causes you to breathe like this. Shallow breath is simply telling your whole body that yes, now we're in danger mode. Or the system, the limbic system, everything within you simply saying, now we are in trouble. Everything is in trouble. And because you are in trouble, simply nature senses that. The energy coming from you. It simply says, my goodness, Dimitri is overworked. Dimitri is agitated. Dimitri is all over the place. So as a result, we have to simply give him more things that look like, yes, it's about to go down. Because we have to confirm what is actually brewing in the spirit. And the gentleman, the master simply says, now let me prove it to you. I spoke to you when it comes to the science of beyond this thing called breathing and beyond this thing called the brain. I'm now going to go into the spiritual realm. I'm going to now give you a lesson that you'll never forget. Look at me now. I'm coming from a place of deep meditation. So I am basically from a place where my spirit is basically at peace. I'm now going to open my mouth. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to speak over this situation. I'm going to speak over the situation, and you're going to see how my speech is going to basically be heard by the nature around me and simply reflect exactly back to me. Oh my goodness, the place of peace where I'm coming from. It says, this is quite a mouthful. You talk a lot. As a matter of fact, you've gone out of your mind. You're barely 21, 22. How do you think you're supposed to know all these crazy things about science? Who are you? Did you go to medical school? Do you have a medical license to practice as a doctor? No. Number one. Number two, are you a university professor? Who are you talking to us about the brain? My goodness, young man, you are crazy. Now we know it. You're not even a scholar. You didn't go to school to study like these people know as Gamaliel. So how possibly can you know this thing about spirit? As we think so without nonsense. We're about to die and that's it. And the young man simply says, you guys are crazy. Calm down. Let me just show something to you. And he simply opened his mouth and simply says, peace, be still. He spoke from a very soft voice. But guess what happened? Nature around them simply responded in kind, and nature simply went down like this. It bowed down to say, as within, so without. A man or woman will understand how to regulate himself, learn how to breathe properly, and learn how to put things in order in their brain. As they speak, their speech carries weight. Their speech simply goes on to simply regulate also the environment around them.